Change the color of your voice. Remember the sound of your eyes. It was like silent waves crashing soundlessly upon distant, rocky shores. Welcome to Night Vale. Disaster has befallen our community, Night Vale. A disaster more disastrous than every disaster that has ever struck a desert community in the history of desert communities. A disaster of truly staggering proportions. A disaster we may well not live to see the end of. All of Night Vale has run out of coffee. Do not panic, listeners. The time for panicking was at 9:30 this morning, so if you have not already panicked, you've missed it, and you'll have to wait until it comes around again. Now is the time for directionless anger at a world so cruel it could deprive us of that ambrosia, that life-giving beverage of the gods, coffee. Made from the coffee bean of South America, coffee is essential to the proper functioning of a human brain. Without it, people become tired, irritable, and occasionally violently paranoid. Coffee has been declared by the government to be every food group. They're not saying you can survive on coffee alone, just that you can't survive without it. Oh, listeners, what am I going to do? I can't go on like this. I haven't had a cup of coffee in days. I'm dying, I'm certain of it. My heartbeat is slowing. It only beats twice per second now. Half its usual rate. That can't be healthy. What if it just keeps slowing down until it only beats once a year? Could a person live like that? Would there be one brief moment each year when I would gasp a breath of air, blood flowing in my veins just for a moment, and glimpse the world around me before falling back into that bleak, coffee-deprived coma? I don't even have the energy to be afraid. Taking a year-long nap actually sounds kind of nice at this point. Yeah, a year-long nap. Not having to wake up in the morning, not having to get out of bed, not having to think. Life without coffee is so bleak, listeners. I hope you are all faring better than I. I assure you that Carlos is, even now, working on a solution to this most disastrous of disasters. He doesn't need to drink coffee, or anything, really. He doesn't eat or drink anymore. He just sits on the roof for a couple of hours every morning with his solar panels open to charge his batteries. Lucky jerk. I bet he's sniggering at all of us in our coffeeless misery. I bet sunlight tastes like coffee if you have the proper apparatus to consume it. Lucky jerk. Anyway, news or something, I guess. What's the point? It's not like anyone's going to do anything about it. Oh well, I guess I have to if I don't want station management to start roving the station and devouring interns again. I guess I don't want that. I guess it's worth the effort to save all of our lives. I guess. The woman from the sand wastes, Shell, is back. Whenever she left, I don't really remember. It turns out she wasn't leaving for good. She was only trying to find someone who understood Russian well enough to teach her English. I guess she found somebody because she speaks passable, if heavily accented, English now. She's been telling us that Aperture is evil, that it's controlled by a homicidal AI, that she's sorry she let things get this bad, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Things are going great with Aperture Labs. Seriously, chill out. Ugh. But anyway, she was really surprised to find that people have been coming back from testing. She was also really surprised to see Carlos, who apparently she thought was dead for some reason. No, he's just a robot, not dead. Big difference, right? Not that hard. I guess I shouldn't be so hard on her. Empathy is hard without coffee, though. Big Rico's Pizza is opening a satellite restaurant that sells mostly burgers. Unfortunately, it's going to be in space. You know, where all the satellites are, because I guess that's their consumer base. So none of us are ever going to see it, except maybe when it passes overhead at night. Or falls back to Earth in a fiery blaze of cooking grease. I mean, they're a pizza restaurant. How are they going to reliably insert an entire building into near-Earth orbit? Everybody knows that you have to get at least 2 years at Juilliard to get the rocket science certification on your degree. And I'm sure everybody knows that Big Rico was only at Juilliard for 1 year before he dropped out to make pizza. The Night Vale Spiderwolves would be having their first game of the season this Sunday, but I don't think that's really going to happen unless somebody finds some coffee somewhere. I hope somebody does, because otherwise we'll have to forfeit the game to Desert Bluffs. And I'm pretty sure we'd all rather be dead than lose to those jerks. So maybe the team can drudge up some energy from somewhere. They'd be the only ones. Around the station, we've discovered that Koshek's kittens have been learning to teleport themselves to different positions. Although once there, they still seem fixed to that point in space. It's pretty cool, I guess. Koshek seems proud. It does make it a little harder to keep track of the kittens, but, you know, they're fully grown now. They can probably take care of themselves, right? We certainly have fewer mice in the station than we used to. Trying to lure them close enough to Koshek for him to catch them was getting to be a chore. So yeah, I guess that's all that's going on, apart from the complete lack of coffee. Since there's nothing better to do, we'll do traffic, I guess. Nobody's driving. Ugh. That takes effort and concentration and stuff. If anybody did drive, they'd probably fall asleep at the wheel and crash. Serve them right. Where do they have to be in such a hurry anyway? Probably driving to desert bluffs to drink their tea. I bet they drink tea. I bet they're a bunch of under-caffeinated tea drinkers. I bet they wouldn't know a good cup of coffee if it jumped out of the cup and bit them. The subway's broken. Again. Marcus Vanston is the worst mayor ever. First the subway breaks, then we run out of coffee. I hope the librarians get into his precious private library and nest there. Who voted for that guy, anyway? He's the worst. I bet he drinks tea, too. We should deport him to Desert Bluffs where he belongs, with all those other non-coffee drinkers. What a tool. This has been traffic, mostly. More on the coffee disaster. Nothing's changed. There's still no coffee. There's nothing even resembling coffee. Citizens have started drinking other dark, bitter liquids in the hopes that they might provide an acceptable substitute, but so far, nothing has worked. Of course it hasn't. Don't you people know there's no substitute for coffee? I mean, like, at this point, what's the point of even trying? What's the point of anything? Carlos says he's working on a solution. Did I mention that already? I don't know. Whatever. He's working on it anyway. He's the only one working on anything, as usual. Not like there's much to do, but oh, whatever. I'm too tired to hope. Maybe I'll just take a nap on my desk. No, I guess that would be kind of uncomfortable. And I probably should keep doing the show, or something. Just a few more segments before I can go home and sleep forever. Why isn't it time to go home yet? Anyway, here's a pre-recorded message from our sponsors. Pay no attention to the young woman from the sand wastes. She's a deranged lunatic and is probably going to murder you all. She likes murdering things. She used to have friends, but she murdered them. Or sent them to space. You probably shouldn't be friends with her. Terrible things might happen to you. Also, I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm not angry with Carlos, even though he murdered our representative. I've learned to stop holding grudges against people just because they murder me. It never works out well. And besides, he's proven to be very useful. You know, now that he's not human anymore. Oh, and whoever has that talking metal ball that came from space, you should probably send it back. Or crush it. Or set it on fire. Or dump it in a lake to rust. Or lock it in the room where all the robots scream at you. One of those things. It's no better than it deserves. Trust me on this one. That thing is nothing but trouble. At any rate, you should come to Aperture Laboratories for testing. It's very important that you do this. The other subjects we have stored in the facility are brain-dead morons. We still haven't run out of potatoes, so if you need an incentive, there's that. And keep that woman away from here. You should probably send her to space, too. I bet she and that metal ball would be best friends before one of them murdered the other. Malice and incompetence dovetail so well, don't they? Aperture Laboratories. Because you still haven't outlived your usefulness. Intern Jess tried to bring me soda. She's miserably chipper. And dumb. Who thinks soda is a replacement for coffee? I bet it was the metal ball's idea. Man, that thing is dumb. And chipper. They're both so disgustingly happy about everything. Oh, like, now that StrexCorp and mood regulation are gone and we have our lives back and the blood's been cleaned up, everything is just great. We should have a party just because we're finally free of the shark-toothed corporate monsters that were slowly devouring our souls. Yeah, right. Let me know when your revolution has managed to dig up some coffee, and maybe I'll show some token enthusiasm or whatever. It'd be almost worth it to have Strex back if they brought coffee with them. Lots of coffee. They did make really good coffee. Ow! What was that for? Don't even say things like that, you jerk. Just thank your lucky stars that Carlos is too busy to be listening to this, or he'd come up here and slap you to next Tuesday. Ugh. Intern Jess is so grumpy about this whole Strex thing. Everybody's so up in arms about it. Wish I could remember anything that happened, apart from the coffee. But that would take effort. And, I mean, it's like effort, right? Who wants anything to do with that? Oh well. It probably wasn't important anyway. Most things aren't important. That's because most things aren't coffee. This is the worst. I hate this. I hate my life. I hate life. God, how did people ever live before coffee? This is the worst. Forget it. I'm going to sleep on my desk and nobody can stop me. But first, I guess I should give you the weather. Coffee! Coffee, coffee, coffee. It is a drug, listeners. A delicious, delicious drug. Carlos has figured out a way to synthesize coffee beans from some things he had lying around the lab. I'm not sure how exactly he did it. Even with his new and improved capacity for knowledge and calculation, he still isn't very good at explaining things to non-scientists. But he did it. It's not quite as good as real coffee, but it's coffee enough, and my zest for life has returned. I guess this all just goes to show, it's just like the old saying says. You never miss your water until you've been completely dehydrated, and your body crumbles into dust. And boy, did we ever come close to crumbling. But all is well now. Or at least, we have our coffee back, and that is good. Carlos doesn't like for me to say things like, all is well. I'm not sure why it bothers him so much. The last few weeks have kind of been a blur for me, so I guess something happened during that time to set him off. I'm not worried about it. I probably will be again when the euphoria of having my coffee back has dulled slightly, but for now, not worried. Just happy to have coffee. It's the little things in life. Stay tuned next for a party. We don't know which party or where, but a party, a celebration, revelry, possible libations. I would ordinarily bid you good night, Night Vale, but I get the feeling that very few of us are going to be able to sleep tonight. Coffee is like that, you know? So instead I will say, farewell, Night Vale. For now. Blue Sky Glow Cloud is a production of the internet. It is written by SJ, that's me, and produced by me as well. The voices of Blue Sky Glow Cloud were also all me. Original music by Disparition and Aperture Science Psychoacoustic Laboratories. Most of it can be found online at disparition.info or disparition.bandcamp.com. Additional musical contributions were Exile Vilify by The National and arranged by Emma Farrell. Links to more information can be found in the description. Today's weather was 1977 by Ana Tijo. More information can be found at facebook.com/Ana Tijo. Portal and all related characters, devices, and scenarios belong to Valve. Today's proverb. Fun fact: wind doesn't actually howl. That's just the sound of invisible air wolves closing in on your position. Run!